I'm Ernie Scheider with Reuters here in Houston for CERAWeek 2014, the Global Energy Conference, here with Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. Senator, you've been a strong advocate for the United States lifting the ban on crude oil exports. Why now, and why do you see it's so important for the U.S. to begin exporting crude oil?
Well, think about where we are as a nation in terms of our energy capacity and production. Next year, we're going to be surpassing Russia, surpassing Saudi Arabia in terms of our production of oil, coming out of the Bakken, coming out of the Eagle Ford. So when we think about our resources, we need to be appreciating that this is an area of opportunity, an area of abundance, and we need to kind of reframe the discussion about energy, where we've been looking at it as almost a liability, because we've been operating from a mindset of scarcity. It is a strategic asset. Let's utilize it as such. Let's allow for that full export of our crude oil from the United States.
You also have been a strong advocate for more drilling on federally owned land for oil and natural gas. Are the two issues linked? That is, could your push to have crude oil exports, the ban lifted and have the strategy only succeed if we are then drilling on federal land, so we're producing more?
Well, I think you need to recognize that what we have seen with this boom in production, that's come primarily from state and private lands. Think about what the opportunities could be for us as a nation if we do similarly on federal lands in terms of the jobs created, the revenues created from the resources. Again, when we're talking about exports, our ability to deal with our trade deficit, this is a win-win for our economy throughout the nation.
You had said earlier this week at CERA that America's energy riches provide security for the world, and a strong geopolitical statement right there. Do you think if the United States becomes a large exporter of crude oil, that would really hold more power, more sway for the country in different geopolitical spheres?
I think it's important to recognize that as we increase production within this country, if we allow for the export, it puts more oil out there into the world market. That allows for a cushion. A cushion for instance, the European nations that are so reliant on single source of oil, or the Asian nations that are they pay so much for their oil. Think about what happens when you have more out on the market, and from a geopolitical security and stability perspective, this helps not only the United States, this helps others around the globe. So I look at it from it's a strategic asset that we should utilize, and it helps with geopolitical stability.
You had mentioned earlier in the week that you feel like crude oil exports could decrease United States gasoline prices between 3 to 7 cents. I know that there are some studies about that. Right. But when you talk to the average person on the street, it's a tough sell, isn't it? They sort of think, okay, we have it here. Right. If we ship it someplace else, isn't that going to push up my heating oil cost and my gasoline costs? I mean, how do you sell that in Peoria, I guess is the
the way that you sell it is through the facts instead of just the emotion, because I think you're right. The average person is going to look at it and say it doesn't work that way. But recognize that oil is a global commodity. It's out there on the global market. And so if there is more out on the market, what happens? Your ability to decrease the price worldwide goes down. That benefits American consumers. So all things being equal, we benefit. But that's a case that needs to be made based on the facts, based on the data and the research out there. I've suggested that 2014 is going to be the year of the reports, because we're going to be doing a fair amount of assessment to better understand. And I think understanding that will allow us to educate, spread that word, but do so based on sound research. And that's kind of the debate that I think you're going to see unfold in these months ahead.
You said also, and famously I might say, this is putting a target on your back. That was your term by putting this report out there. How is your relationship so far with the Obama administration on this topic? You said you'd like President Obama to use the power levers that he has, but you're not afraid to go the legislative route. Could talk a little bit about the dialogue you've been having with the administration.
Well, I think it is important to recognize that there is authority that exists with the president as well as with the Department of Commerce to lift the de facto export ban under certain conditions. We've seen it exercised with President Clinton, with President Reagan, and with President Bush. We've seen national interest determinations made. There was no legislation that was required. And so, again, this is something that if the administration understands the benefits to us as a nation, and again, what we can do as a nation from a geopolitical perspective in terms of adding greater stability in the world market, there's no reason for legislation. But if the administration doesn't want to advance that, I'm prepared to advance legislation. I also know that legislation oftentimes takes longer to materialize than administrative action. So I want to work with the administration on this. I want to help them as we gain additional information, share that, and really make the case for the United States export of our oil.
Senator, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.